Oh, hi everyone. Wow. A bunch of people joined at once here. Hello, Sira Zan. Hello, Kenzie Killingsworth. So good to see you guys. Hello, Light Language Codes. Hello, Secret Healing by Shannon. How are you all doing? Happy Tuesday. How's everybody doing today? Comment in the comment section where you're from. And let's make some connections here. Hi, Kenzie. Turning up my volume. It's a pretty nice day here. The sun is out, but it's freezing. It's like this is Celsius, but it's minus 12. So I don't know what that would be in Fahrenheit, but damn cold. It's so cold here. How's everyone doing? Doing good? Sunshine is out. That's so nice to hear. It's out here too, just super cold. Hi, Secret Healing by Shannon. I'm in Ontario as well. Is it super cold for you as well? Where are you from in Ontario? So good to see you. Hi, Jerry. How are you? Thank you for joining. Lovely to see you. So we're going to talk about a few things today. We're going to do our normal Q&A, as well as I wanted to talk about, the last two videos that we had going on YouTube, because they were intense. And when I drop a doozy like that, I know that it's nice to have somewhere to talk about the information that came through. In London, Sacred Healing by Shannon, London, Ontario, that's so close to where I'm at. I don't know if you know where Peterborough is, but I'm like maybe half an hour north of that. So in a rural area. Hi, Plant Eat Delicious. How are you? Hello, Syrian Starseed and Jay. How are you all doing? Pop in the comments how you're doing, how your day's going, and we can get started with Q&A if you guys have any questions. Or I was thinking we could also talk about the videos that came out this week on YouTube, because they were really super intense. So I don't know, let me know, did you see Sacred Healing by Shannon? That it is amazing how close we are. Hi, Terry Lee. Thanks for joining. Let me know if you saw the Avalon video, because I thought we could chat if you had any questions about that. This whole live is totally open for questions. So at any point, pop a question in and we'll get to it. But if you wanted to start with the Avalon video, Kenzie Killingsworth, you saw it. That's so great. So that was a really intense video. There was so much to that video, right? So it wasn't just about the realm of Avalon. It was about how Avalon was actually seeded on Earth during a golden era. So Jerry said he saw both videos back to back. The Orion video was intense too, wasn't it? Very intense, actually. I felt like watching it back was like a lot. And I put a comment in that video about watching it back, kind of what that made me feel. But anyway, so for the Avalon video, so this is about that cycle of precession. So the cycle of precession is like 24,000 to 26,000 year cycle, where Earth and humanity and the societies actually go through from the bottom at the Dark Ages all the way up to at the top, which is like a golden era or the golden ages. And this is when we would experience high evolution personally, and then also of our society. Hi, the calibration consultant. Thanks for joining. We're talking about the precession of the equinoxes, which is also known as the precession cycle. So this is a cycle of ascension on a global scale. So a lot of people believe that it's 24,000 years. It's 12,000 years coming up to that golden era, and then 12,000 years going down back to the Dark Ages. So currently right now on Earth, we are on an ascension. We're rising up towards that golden era. So this is something that Earth has experienced before because it's a cycle, right? So it's definitely something that once you get into that golden era, we don't stay there. We come back down into the Dark Ages again. So it's a continual cycle, right? Hi, Purple Dragon Illustrations. Thanks for joining. Talking about the precession of the equinoxes, Precession Cycle, which is all about the ascension of a society and of humanity. So what I wanted to say on this, which you probably saw in the Avalon video, is that this has happened on Earth many times, but the ones that I know of would be Atlantis, would also be, actually the first one would be, if we're gonna do it in like a linear time, it would have been Lemuria, then Atlantis, and then Avalon. Hi Cosmic Empath, thanks for joining. So hi Zishan too, thanks for joining. So we're just talking about the precession of the equinoxes, which is also known as the precession cycle of ascension on the planet. So the people, have measured this to be 12,000 years going up, 12,000 years coming down. So that's 24,000 years total. Yet 26,000 years also gets mentioned a lot. So nobody knows exactly what the amount of years are, but it's in between 24,000 and 26,000 years for a complete cycle, right? But if you were at the bottom in the dark ages, like in those super dark, like medieval, I don't know, I just think of like dark medieval times, like all of those, very dark ages where everything was all about control and violence and brutality. And we hadn't really had any kind of proper society coming in. Those are all down near the bottom. And then as we come up into a much higher vibration, then we start to evolve. So what makes us evolve? Hello, Andrew. Hello, Arik Fried. Hi, Stephen Rock. Thank you all for joining. So what makes us all evolve during those times at the top of that precession cycle and at the top of the golden era? So that's because the placement of the Earth in space is actually closer and more affected by the sun codes. So things like solar flares, right? All of a sudden, they start affecting us way more because of the placement that Earth is in space at that time. So as we're going through that precession cycle, the Earth is actually moving through that cycle as well. And it's supposed to be like how it moves on its axis. And this is all about like proximity to sun codes, solar flares, sun energy, all of that. Hi, Sama Joe. Hi, Mystically Molly. Thanks for joining. So if you'll notice, there has been a lot of talk recently about the Schumann Resonance. Does everybody know what the Schumann Resonance is? So the Schumann Resonance is the heartbeat of the Earth. So Earth has her own heartbeat and it can be measured, and it is being measured all around the Earth. There's more than one like lab or whatever they'd be called that actually measures the Schumann resonance. And the regular rate of Gaia's heartbeat, so the planet that we're on, is 7.83 hertz, okay? But in the year 2020 and in the year 2021, there have been huge changes in her heartbeat, in her frequency. She is being blasted with solar flares. And these solar flares are actually affecting her vibration, right? So it's speeding up her vibration. A low vibration or a slow moving vibration is lower and dense. As I've shared many times on that chart of frequency, if you remember that from YouTube. And as a frequency speeds up and gets quicker, it moves into higher frequencies. Sorry, as a vibration speeds up and gets quicker, then it moves into higher frequencies. So everything is vibrating, absolutely everything. You are, the chair is, plant life, animals, everything is in movement. All of the cells are vibrating, even in objects that are not like alive, like a chair or a desk or something. So everything is in movement and everything is vibrating, and the measurement of that vibration is called a frequency. So when people say raise your vibration, what they really mean is speed up the vibration so that you can have a higher frequency. So we're seeing higher frequency readings that are actually being measured in the Schumann resonance. So if it's, regularly 7.83, and a couple of weeks ago, we had it in the thousands. And that happened within, I really started seeing these spikes, really in the year 2020. And look at what happened with society in 2020. So this isn't just Gaia that's being affected by the solar flares, it's humanity as well. And you saw her, like the Schumann Resonance, Gaia's heartbeat going up and then coming back down, and then going up and then coming back down, but very slowly, because it's not linear. It's going to go up and down, but it's still increasing on that incline. And before you know it, her set point is no longer going to be 7.83. It's going to be like a super high set point, a new like base for where the Earth sits at. That's ascension, basically, right? The raising up of your frequency, the speeding up of your vibration, that is ascension. So this is what Gaia is going through. This is what we are going through. And this is where ascension symptoms come from, because it can be very uncomfortable to go through all of these changes, because on Earth, when we go through these golden eras, we don't leave our bodies behind. We take our bodies with us into these higher vibrational states. So we're taking the body with us, right? So when people talk about ascension, it's not just an etheric soul thing. It's very physical. And that is where ascension symptoms come from as well. Yes, thanks to the COVID silence. Terry Lee says, thanks to the COVID silence, Gaia is so much easier to heal. That's probably so true. And also, if you meant here, that would also be true, because it says heat, but I'm assuming you meant, oh, you said below here. Yes, she's so much easier to hear because of the COVID silence. Yes, it's like nature's coming back out to be alive and to play. Hi, Gemini Healer. So good to see you. So does anybody have any questions? Have you heard of the Precession Cycle before? Do you know how that works? Can you see the evidence of it on Earth? So the Avalon video talked about this in the essence of it being one of those golden eras on Earth. Just like Lemuria, just like Atlantis, then there was Avalon. So these are golden era time periods or societies that are seated on the Earth. So they start on the Earth. Their origination is here. And because that cycle is a continual circle, what does that mean? That means that Earth is going to continue downwards once again, right? It's a cycle. It's gonna come down. Like once we go into an ascension, that doesn't mean that Earth stays there. It has to come back down. 12,000 years of descending into dense energy, darkness, and that's why they call it the Dark Ages. And then 12,000 years of ascending rather than descending, ascending towards the light and these higher vibrations. So what happens to those places like Lemuria, Atlantis, Avalon, and us once we get there, right? Because we're not in a golden era yet. We are like rising up towards this, but we're not there yet. There are so many opinions on where we are on that chart. You can see those charts, the Precession Cycle. You can actually see the charts of the different eras. And there is just so many arguments about where we're at. Like some people say the age of Aquarius was supposed to be at the top, and some people say it's more like here and we're still like halfway to the top, 3/4 of the way. Like who knows, right? And nobody can measure something like that because I mean, that's a much higher perspective than we're gonna have down here in our human minds. Hi, Woke Sunshine. Hi, I Am Knowledge. Thank you so much for joining. So the calibration consultant says it makes sense. Everything happens in cycles. Yes, it does, right? Life is all cyclical. The moon, women, I mean, we're all just cyclical beings, right? So what happens to those golden era places? Like where did Lemuria go? Where did Atlantis go? Where is Avalon? And Avalon is like something that is super close to my heart. I've had multiple lifetimes in that realm, parallel lifetimes. And it's this beautiful realm of the elven people, the fae, dragons, unicorns, sprites, like all of the beautiful little magical creatures. There are kingdoms, many kingdoms there, like the kingdom of the unicorns, the Elven kingdom, the Fae kingdom. Like it's like the stuff that fairy tales are written about. And where did those stories come from, right? They came from somewhere. So it's just an absolutely gorgeous realm. If you resonate with the Fae, fairy energy, that kind of magic, elven beings, like medieval times, but like high vibrational medieval, like King Arthur, that kind of vibe, then you were absolutely going to love that video on Avalon and should definitely check it out on YouTube. So the Gemini healer says, I absolutely resonate with Avalon. I'm a galactic magi after all. That is so beautiful. So beautiful. I too resonate with it. And then Jiri has a question. Is it known when approximately Avalon separated from the timeline that we're on? Well, so if this is all about the cycle of the equinoxes, or the precession cycle. Precession of the equinoxes is, if you wanted to Google it and find out more about it, Google that. So it's 24,000 years. It's 12,000 years of descending into dark ages and 12,000 years of rising up into the golden eras, into the light again, high vibrations. So if Avalon was the last one that we had, which I believe that it was, then that would have been at the top. And we've come all the way down into the dark ages, so 12,000 years ago, plus probably at least another, maybe we're halfway up, 6,000, maybe like 8,000 years. So 12,000 years plus 8,000, that's like 20,000 years ago on Earth. So when these places are in their golden era, high vibrational, like the beings evolve, like the actual beings, like Atlantis beings evolved. It's like over the years, it wasn't all at once, but they started to evolve the people and the society, like it all happened together as the planet went into that super high vibrational state. It took everything with it. And so as the descension starts, those places would have to continue, but they could no longer be supported. Earth could no longer support them as it descends in its vibration. So they would be going into like parallel dimensions. So moving like this way, not this way. So they wouldn't be going up or down. They would be moving parallel, hopping into another timeline or dimension or realm. Like it's really hard for us to know, but it's a parallel move where they can continue on in their very high vibrational society and allow Earth to descend again. And every time she does that cycle and comes back up into that golden era, it looks different every time. Like Lemuria looked super different than Atlantis. And then Avalon looked so different from them all. So you never know what you're gonna get, right? And that is so cool. Like, what are we headed towards? It's just, how could we even know? That was a great question, Jiri. I Am Knowledge says, good morning. I love what you're doing here. Thank you so much. I love your mind, soul. You're not alone. We are awakening. Absolutely. And we're going through it together. We came here together, especially if you're a starseed soul. Most of us volunteered together, which is really cool. We came down in big groups, although now on Earth, we are really spread out around the globe. And that's so that it was strategic though, so that we could affect as much of the planetary grid as possible and as much of the collective consciousness as possible. So we had to be like spread out around the globe in order for that to happen. We couldn't all like land together and have a party in New York, like everyone just together enjoying each other's company. We kind of had to like spread out. That actually leads to starseed loneliness. And that's probably where a lot of that longing feeling comes from for starseeds. And then of course, there's also that longing for a world that sometimes you can't even remember. But we have these places like Avalon where we continue to incarnate that feel like a home to us. Or like for me, Orion, which is such a huge connection for me. Hi, Maddie Penn, thanks for joining. The Gemini Healer says, I loved the video, great info. The Avalon video, thank you so much. Spiritual Vibes UK, thanks for joining. Jiri says he gets it, awesome. So the Precession Cycle, that 12,000 years down of descension, 12,000 years up of ascension. And that's where we're at right now. I feel like we're more than halfway on the incline. But like I said, there's actually a lot of arguments out there about where we're at. People believe that the age of Aquarius has been like measured incorrectly and that we're not there yet. Other people believe that we're like right on the cusp of a golden era. I think we have more work to do. What do you think? Like, I think that there's going to be more of like what's going on right now in the world, where everything is coming up to be purged, and it's like all about duality and purging like limiting beliefs and these older energies, and like the breaking down of a society that is clearly not working for us, for our highest good. So definitely more years of the like turbulence, because that's the ascension symptoms. That's like the growth process, right? Hi, Star Native. Thanks for joining. Sama Joe says, this is fascinating. Thank you so much. The Gemini Healer says, yes, I feel the same. Earth, Terra, Gaia, Mama Gaia. I like that. Has a multi-dimensional body. Yes, love this conversation. Hi, Living Intentional. Thanks so much for joining. So it's really important for you then on this journey of that cycle that we talked about to understand frequency. Like, you really need to have, that is spiritual basics. You need to really understand how that works, how it affects you, how to cultivate it, because you want to, especially as starseeds and volunteers, we really want to be like leaders of that new energy and helping others to really cultivate that within themselves. And that takes us being very patient, right? Patient with ourselves, patient with others. And just so you know, that is not a starseed strength. Patience is like really difficult for a lot of us because we've had these lifetimes, right? So many lifetimes. Like, I was going to say hundreds of lifetimes for some of us, but for others, thousands of lifetimes in higher dimensions where everything happens like that. You think of a place and you're instantly there. You think of someone and you're instantly with them. It's all very like instant manifestation, instant gratification. And then we come down here to Earth and we're like, what the hell? Like, what is with this wait time on our manifestations and on our frequencies? And it can be really frustrating. So because of that, I'm going to be filming this video right after this live. I'm going to be filming a video called Quantum Manifestation. So this is going to make sense to starseeds, galactic souls, awakened starseeds that remember that they are from these other planets and have a lot of those characteristics still alive within them. You need to manifest very differently. Like, you need to manifest in a quantum way for it to work for you, for it to make sense for you, and for you not to get frustrated with like the human idea of what manifestation is, which is like wait times of weeks, months. It's crazy. We don't have time for that. I'm not here for that. I'm here for like quick thinking, quick change, growth, movement. So quantum is another word for like multidimensional, right? You could substitute those words. Multidimensional manifestation, quantum I like the word quantum, but either one would work. Thank you for joining, Glittery Girl House. Whoop, I said that wrong. Glittery Girl Shauna Rose. Thank you for joining. The Gemini Healer says, I've always had a strong connection into the Orion Wars, and the fall of Lyra was there. Yes, I definitely, as you know from my Orion video, I'm just plugging my phone in here. As you know from my Orion video, because now there's a part 2, that was a huge part of my past. If you believe in like linear thinking, past, present, future, we know as multidimensional souls, we know deep within, everything is all happening at the same time. And they are parallel lives, not past lives. But for our human brains, that's too hard to wrap our minds around. So we think linear, past, present, future. And so that's why I use the terms past lives so often, because I find it's much easier to teach when I use terms that are linear and people can grasp it much easier. But yes, my parallel past lifetime on Orion was all about wars. It was really just a difficult, if you're interested in hearing about Orion and the wars and the interactions with the reptilian beings that happened during that time, definitely check those videos out on YouTube. The Gemini healer says there's so much purpose in patience. Yes, and there's so much presence in it as well, isn't there? Like, patience is very hard to, okay, I shouldn't say that because I'm stating that into being. But for me, up until now, patience has been extremely difficult to cultivate within myself. But I'm learning. We're all learning together, right? So I really find this whole idea very interesting about the precession of the equinoxes and how this is being measured. And you see the proof of it. Like, you see the proof of it in the solar flares, in the how that affects the Schumann resonance, which can be measured, right? This is all being measured. So if it's affecting Gaia and it's changing her and her frequency and her vibration, then it's affecting us and it's changing us as well. And that is what ascension is, right? So that's the whole vibrational frequency. So the other thing that if there's no more questions about Avalon, the other thing that I wanted to talk about was something new that I'm going to be offering. So I did a quick post on this last night, but I just wanted to let you all know, in person, what this is going to be all about. So you all have been devouring my readings and my other services as well. But my bestseller, like by far, has been what's called the Complete Cosmic Reading. Hi, Gavin, Ashley, thanks for joining. So it's been like insane and so beautiful to connect with all of you. Like, it's such an intimate way to connect with you, to do these readings. And the bestseller, the Complete Cosmic Reading, is where you get 3 past parallel lives described in like intense amount of detail. Intense. Because the way that my psychic gifts work is I see the person first. Actually, I see their eyes first, if I'm going to be really specific. I see their eyes, and then the picture zooms out, and I see the person, and then it zooms out further, and I see the scene, like what's around you, where you are, who's around you. And so those are the kinds, like, it's an incredibly, incredibly detailed reading. Each lifetime, which is just a part of the reading, is so long and detailed. You'll hear what you look like, what you're wearing most of the time, where you are, what your name is, who's around you. And then we get into the bigger ideas about like, okay, what you spend your days doing, like if it's a job or if it's work, your family situation. And then we go from micro to macro, and then we get into the macro, like these were the lessons that your soul was learning, like the soul contracts in that lifetime and the themes of the lifetime. And then the last part of that would be how this is affecting you now. So like you may be feeling this energy in your current life as da 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 da, and it's like this whole thing, right? So you get 3, imagine like 3 of those huge experiences of your past lives. And these are not always on Earth. So sometimes that shocks people. Sometimes people are ready for that. Like, usually with my audience, people are really ready for that. Hi Danica Doucette, nice to see you. So a lot of the times these are in these other constellations, right? So if somebody is not expecting that, it can be a little bit of a shock to the system, but I trust what comes through, that person is ready to hear that and know that. And then after the 3 lifetimes, then it's messages from your guides. And that is it's the same way that my gifts work. It starts at the eyes, right? So I see their eyes first, and then it slowly zooms out to the face, to the whole body. And then I get like a feeling of their energy. Like, are they divine feminine or divine masculine? Are they soft-spoken and gentle, or are they kind of like blunt? Like some guides are blunt and they're all like about lecturing. Like, listen here, this is what you've been doing wrong. And they can be a little bit like harsh, but it's with love, right? That's just their personalities. They all have personalities. And yet again, a lot of guides are very funny and they like to, be hilarious and make jokes and tease. And then a lot of guides, also specifically Pleiadians, are very excitable. Like they're very like, oh my God, I'm so excited. Like just so excitable. And that's really cool too. So as you're, receiving the information about your guide, you start to get to know them. You get their name as well, what they look like, where they're from, if it's an earthly ancestor, a Pleiadian, Andromedan, whatever. And then how they're connected to you. Is it a soul group? Is it past life? Like what's the connection there? Once we get through all of that, it's a channeled message from them. So it's like exactly as they say it, what you need to hear, and it just comes out, you know, in their words and the way that they would speak. So in the kinds of language that they would use. And then at the end of that complete cosmic reading, after the 3 lives, the 3 guides, the 3 messages, then you get to ask any 3 questions, which is such a fun part of the reading because I get the most interesting questions. Somebody asked about their pet. Had they had past lives together because they felt like a really strong bond with their pet. Other people ask about their job. Other people ask about their relationship, their health, their spiritual journey. Like, it's totally up to you and open. And what I do is actually read your question to your team. So I call in your team of guides and councils because you have guides, but you're also a part of these councils, right? Like, if you had a lifetime where you keep going back to, like if you go to Orion a bunch and you're like really have a lot of Orion energy, because when you repeatedly incarnate somewhere, you really carry a lot of that DNA, those codes within you, right? That's why a lot of people resonate so strongly with like if we're using Orion as an example, they resonate so strongly with Orion. But they'll also resonate with like Pleiades and these different ones. Well, you've probably had 1 or 2 lifetimes, but then you had like, I don't know, like who knows how many, so many lifetimes on Orion. So that's why you really feel that way. So at that point, you're probably going to become like a part of the council, right? Especially the souls that we have on Earth here right now. We are like cream of the crop, like super strong, like warrior, high vibrational leaders. We're all these leaders. Why else would we be here, right? And those were the souls that were chosen to come. Very strong, very determined leader souls that can go through horrific things like their childhood or trauma and like pop right back up after that, you know, good amount of healing and be more determined than ever, right? Never be put off of their mission by it. So if you are a part of a council, like the Orion Council of Light or something like that, then that's a part of your team, right? Because you've got angels and guides and family all on your team, ancestors, ascended masters, and all of that, and then councils that you are a part of. And if you're a member of a council, then you're probably going to meetings. So you might remember it as dreams, where you're like sitting at a desk or standing in front of a large desk of other people, and you're kind of having a back and forth. Or some people have these dreams where they're like standing around a table and everyone's looking at a map and they're pointing at stuff. Like, you'll know you're going to be having these team meetings in the astral. And you remember them as dreams, but dream is just a human term for soul memories, because your soul really did those things, and the memories now come through kind of broken because the like human consciousness wakes up and it kind of tries to make sense of it, and kind of sometimes it garbles it up a little bit, but you get the idea of what you're up to, right? So those 3 questions at the end of the reading, they get asked to all of your team as a collective, and then they channel answers. So you can ask anything, and whatever the answer is that comes through, it's not from me, it's a channeled answer, right? Like, I wouldn't know the answer to those because I don't know you personally, and yet they know you so well, and it's super personal for them because you're like family. So that's a rundown of my bestseller, which is the Complete Cosmic Reading. Hi, Diviniad, thanks for joining. Hi, Methanside, thanks for joining. Thank you, guys. So the one that's brand new, so that's my bestseller. So here's what just came out late last night. It's called the Breakthrough Reading. So this is a combination of like the counseling services that I offer with the reading. It's a bridge between the two because it was very separate before. Here's the healings and counselings that I offer. These are one-on-ones on Zoom. Here's the readings that I offer. And there was nothing that was both. This is kind of like that bridge between the two. So a breakthrough reading is for you if you're feeling stuck on any area of your life and you've tried to work through it. Like, you're looking for the reason for it. Like, say you continually manifest terrible relationships, or you continually manifest like problems with abundance, like a lot of lack, and you've worked through it. And you've done the healing work, like the physical healing. You've done the shadow work. you're looking at the limiting beliefs, you're working through, and you're still getting the same results. So this is for you then if you're getting stuck like that. This is something that brings like an intense amount of clarity. And this is also something that's like, okay, you know, when people call it like an aha moment, this would be like giving yourself one of those aha moments. So you would describe exactly what's going on in this area of life. So you would choose one area or issue where you needed a breakthrough, and you and I would work together, and you would describe everything that you've tried already and what is continuing to happen, what results you're still getting. And then I am going to be taking that information and going to Archangel Raphael. So he is someone that I have been working with so much in the last 2-3 months, and he completely inspired this new reading, this breakthrough reading. Hi, RoseCloud9. Hi, Sharshine. Thanks for joining. So Archangel Raphael is a natural healer, and that isn't just physical or energetic healing. It's like counseling as well. He's this amazing counselor, and he really understands humans and like how our minds work and how we get caught up in things, get tangled up, and we lose our way. And that's it's so natural. Don't feel alone if you can't break through on something on your own. We all have an area where we struggle, right? Like I was saying earlier, like for me, it's really patience. And I continue to get lessons about patience. Until I learn that lesson, I will always be shown like examples of me not being patient, right? So this reading is all about getting that clarity, those aha moments, and illuminating the situation, because you're trying to see a bigger picture and you only have one piece of the puzzle. Or maybe you have a few because you've really done a lot of work, but it still, for whatever reason, hasn't like panoramic view, like zoomed out for you so that you can really see what's happening. So this is like such an exciting reading for me because it's taking a lot of the like counseling aspects and the reading and channeling aspects and like putting that all together. So you would be then, receiving the answers, the clarity, the illumination from your team, which remember I was saying I call in with I always use the client's full name. So first and last name, call in your team, your guides, your counsels, all of it. And then the extra piece is that I'm adding Archangel Raphael into these readings to help with this clarity. So you're going to be receiving so much clarity, answers, like how things, the pieces of the puzzle, and clicking them together so that you can be like, oh, I never looked at it that way before. How did I not see that? Oh my God. And once you see it, it's gone. Like once you see it, it's usually a limiting belief about like it's either self-worth or it's always like a core of something, right? There's something inside you where this is originating from, this block in your life. And once you see where it originates from, the seed of it, the limiting belief, the emotion, the hurt, whatever it is, you can heal it, you can clear it, and you can finally move past it. So it's like helping you to locate where that is and then actually giving you practical steps, real-time practical steps that you can start taking right away. Things, and this is all advice from your own team and Archangel Raphael. So like practical, logical steps, not like, woohoo, kind of like woo-woo stuff, like, oh, well, you turn to the third star on the right and recite your name 3 times. Like, no, this is like real life. This is real stuff. It's probably going to be, a belief that you need to let go of and then steps to help you let go of that, or a relationship that needs healing and then steps that you can take to work towards that. It's going to be something around, most of the time it's usually limiting beliefs and trapped emotions, or could be past life stuff. So maybe you aren't able to find the origination of the issue because it wasn't in this life, it was in a past life, possibly, right? So that's why we go to your team, because they know your history. They know your galactic history. They know where you were last, everywhere that you've been, and most of them incarnate with you time and time again. So that's the new reading that just came out. And that's called the Breakthrough Reading. So please check out my link where you can see all of the services that I offer. the counseling and the healing sessions and these readings. And like I said, the bestseller for at least like maybe 2 months now, like consistently, is the complete cosmic reading. So that's been so fun to do for you. That's the biggest thing that it's huge. It is such a huge reading. The details are insane. And you just got a small idea of what that was like today with me describing those 3 lives, followed by 3 guides with their messages, followed by 3 questions answered. Like insane amount of detail coming through. Diviniad says, I will book you when I can. Sounds amazing. Sounds so good. I look forward to working with you. So if you guys have any questions, please pop them into the comments here. Danica Doucette says, I would love to do that. Oh, I would love to work with you in that way. It's been so amazing. I've really made so many connections doing this work and actually made some real friends, and it's been beautiful, beautiful connections. So does anybody have any questions for me that they want to pop into the comments? And then if not, what I want to ask now is if anybody wants to join me. Does anybody want to come on live and talk about either a question that you have, an area of your life that you need some clarity on, or something that you want to share? Like, pretty open mic here. So if anybody wants to do that, just when you first join a live, it should say request to join. And you can just tap that button. If you don't see that button and you actually want to join, then just say it in the comments and I think I can add you manually. It's supposed to be Divine Triad, but it was taken. Oh, I'm sorry. Your name, Divine Triad. It makes sense now that you said it though. So we have talked about the Precession Cycle of moving up the 12,000 years up into Ascension, 12,000 years of Descension, descending down into the Dark Ages. We've talked about Avalon. We've talked about my new reading that's coming out. And does anybody want to talk about the Orion video? So the Orion video that just came out was part 2, right? So the very first video was my life on Orion and everything that I went through and how difficult that was. And I thought that I had healed that, but as we know, healing is not linear, and it came back around for more attention in a very dramatic way. So if anybody saw that, then just let me know that you saw that video. And it was really difficult for me, but what I learned was about soul retrieval. So has anyone heard about soul retrieval? And have you, maybe you've experienced it actually, like likely in this crowd, you guys know all about that and are also going through things just like this. So soul retrieval is all about when a piece of your soul is like fractured off of the whole due to trauma, right? Due to trauma that you aren't able, it's too big to process. So many people will experience this from childhood. You know, as a child, you do not have the mental or emotional capabilities to process trauma. And so what we do is we experience this fracturing of soul, and that can cause real problems later on in life. And so this is really important to understand what soul retrieval is. Hi, Laura Estelle, thanks for joining. We're talking about soul retrieval. Does anyone have any stories or experiences that they've had on soul retrieval? Pop them in the comments or feel free to jump on with me. Don't be shy. Like if somebody wants to join, feel free to join in on the live. Divine Triad says Harry Potter. I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm with you because I love Harry Potter. And there's always place for Harry Potter in any conversation. Like I'm all about it. And that was such a beautiful, magical world. And, you know, that came from her imagination, right? But maybe it was her memories. I feel like a lot of fantasy, like books and movies and stuff, are actually memories. Like think about Star Wars. Apparently that was completely based on Orion, by the way. If anyone here is like an Orion starseed, like totally based on like the Orion Wars and like the whole like super duality there. Like it's super, like it's light versus dark, all about polarity. And that is so evident in those films, but they're like galactic, unlike Earth, where we're experiencing the same duality and polarity. It's just not excitingly galactic with our lightsabers and stuff. Oh, yes, like the Horcruxes. Oh, I understand what you guys are saying now. Thank you so much for that, Samajo. You're talking about soul retrieval like Harry Potter. Oh my God. Yes, I'm ashamed I didn't put that together because I've seen those movies billions of times and read the books. Hi, Christine. Thanks for joining. Yes, Samajo. So Divine Triad and Samajo both get it way faster than I got it. Okay, so soul retrieval. Let's use, Danica Doucette loves that. So let's use Harry Potter as an example then. If that's gonna work for you guys, we can do that. So soul retrieval is all about, well, you saw what he did. Why did his soul fracture, right? So this would be, instead of the trauma happening to him, like we were talking about, this is like him causing trauma and pain. But that energy is the same. So whether you're receiving the energy or giving the energy, it's the same. And he was killing people, right? So he was murdering people. And we're talking about Voldemort now. He who must not be named. And he was creating soul fractures, right? But it's not actually going to help you the way that he thinks it helped him. It's not going to make you immortal at all, as we learned from my video, the part 2 of Orion. So what happened there was that part of me had fractured off. And I always thought with soul fractures, I don't really know what else to call it. Is there another word for that, you guys? Soul fractures, soul splinter, something like that. I thought it went somewhere. Like, I don't know what I thought. I guess I thought that piece of your soul, once it was fractured off, like that it went, where did it go? Hi, Newsy Paper. Thanks for joining. We're talking about soul retrieval. So I think I thought that it went to some other dimension. I don't know. Some other realm. I don't know. It turns out that it was still here in the whole soul, but that piece turned off, like turning off a light switch, went dormant. It went to sleep. It didn't go somewhere outside of me. It was still there, but it was like turned off and in darkness, right? So when it got turned back on, all of the shit came up from that lifetime to deal with. And I couldn't, I guess, maybe do it all at once because, like I said in the video, this was January of 2020. And I was working through, like, I grieved for days on end, like constant crying for like days and days and days. And then I also went through weeks of like working through it, writing about it, talking about it, like journaling about it, all of that, meditating on it. And then it kind of just, after I did that process, it kind of just faded away. And I was like, oh, okay. Like I remembered it all, but it kind of just faded. And then all of a sudden, like a couple of weeks ago now, when that video was filmed, it came up again, and like in a huge way. And in this way, it was about that actually turning back on that part of my soul, like waking it back up, turning on the light switch. And then again, there was another grieving period that happened. But the most important thing was then the integration, right? So that didn't happen the first time for the first round of healing. And that integration was super, super important to, obviously, to wholeness, because the whole point of soul retrieval is to like fuse back together the pieces of your soul that were shattered in the trauma. So that's why I said, I mean, this happens to people from traumas in this life, obviously, like sexual assault, definitely, childhood abuse, any huge trauma, shootings, robberies, all those things. This can really happen. And it makes me wonder if PTSD is a symptom of that, right? Is there a connection there with the soul fracture, the soul splinter, and the PTSD? And then when you heal and integrate finally that piece back in with the rest of your soul, does that mean that the PTSD heals and fades, right? So I'm going to catch up on the comments here. So Divine Triad said, isn't it interesting how so many movies are connected to reality more than we think? All these ideas for them have to come from somewhere. I completely agree. Hi, Yola08 Rose. Thanks for joining. Yeah, so yes, you're right, Divine Triad. The trauma can also be passed down through, like a witch wound, that could be passed down And I don't know, I know I keep talking about my videos, but it's because like I'm so passionate about them and I have so many on all these topics. But I have a video actually called The Witch Wound. So that's a very recent video as well. And that is all about how if it didn't happen to you specifically, likely it didn't happen in this life, right? It was like a past or parallel life. And if it didn't happen to you in a past or parallel life, then it could have happened to your mother or your grandmother. So when you are, before you were born, you are a cell in your grandmother. So you're young, picture your grandmother as this young, beautiful woman. She's like bumming around with her friends, doing whatever. You are in her cells. Like in your grandmother's cells, you already exist. That is passed to your mother and then passed to you. So your generational trauma goes back 2 generations, I believe. That's where the quote comes from when people say, if you heal yourself, then you heal your daughter and your granddaughter. So healing moves forward. But I believe because everything is so connected, multidimensional and quantum, that you could also heal 2 generations back. So you're healing your grandmother, your mother, your own daughter, and her daughter. Like imagine that scope of healing. And this can be measured. Like this is all about the cells, and they were present in your grandmother. And then they moved to your grandma, or to your mom, I mean, and then to you, and then you're born already with those trauma imprints, DNA imprints. And imagine if something extreme happened like a witch wound, which is where a witch wound is like a witch that's being like put on trial, like so accused, put on trial, and then usually, like I don't think like hardly any of them could prove that they weren't witches. How do you prove that when everybody wants to believe what they want to believe? So most times that they would have to face the punishment, which was a lot of the time death. So if you have that in your ancestral history, you have that in your body, right? So that definitely would be a huge soul piece that needed healing and could definitely cause the whole Voldemort syndrome of the soul fracture, right? Hi, Frank Carrerio. Thanks for joining. Yeah, so if Divine Triad says, if there's a lot of trauma for your mom and grandma, then yes, you definitely are gonna, same here. And like, it's interesting how things get handed down. Like when they say, well, you inherited your depression, like, is that what we're talking about, right? Where you can inherit things like addictive behavior or depression or all of that. It absolutely is trauma being handed down, you know, generation after generation, which is why it is so important that we are working through this huge healing. Like so many of us are so invested in shadow work right now and in really like diving deep into our healing. And I can let you know that the place to start, okay, the very first place that you need to start is this lifetime in your childhood. Once you get a good handle on healing your childhood, which means that it's come up not once for healing, but a few times, like 2 or 3 times for healing. Once you really get a good handle on that, your healing journey will naturally move into the next phase. And for most of us, that's past life traumas that need healing, but it could also be this ancestral healing that you guys are bringing to the table in this conversation, right? So past life or ancestral healing would then come up, but the childhood is like the first thing. So if you're not able to get deeply into your past lives, they aren't coming up for you, then I would suggest diving deeper into your childhood and really like getting into that healing and making sure that there's nothing, because there's something left there. And once you get that kind of like balanced, cleared, released, you will see, you'll be surprised, really surprised at what comes up after your childhood is healed. And you know why past lives don't come up for most people? Because they don't do that. Think about your grandparents or your parents. Are they deep diving into their childhoods to heal them? No, they're not at all. It was like not expected of them and also not even talked about in their generation. Like they had a whole different worlds that they grew up in than what we're growing up in. And they really didn't have this information or these tools. Now that they are, you know, really kind of catching up with the times and learning what a lot of us are bringing to the table, the younger generations, they can get that opportunity, but a lot of them, like I was gonna say most of them, but that's not nice, but a lot of them will still choose not to. It's too much. And that's where you see your parents, you know, drinking, right? Oh, they have a glass of wine every night or a beer every night. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but I'm saying that that's like a very common way to avoid childhood stuff. Or they eat a lot, right? Or they have issues with escapism. And escapism is addiction. That's like the same thing, right? Can we not interchange those two words? It could be anything, shopping, like TV, whatever your games, whatever you're using to escape is what you're addicted to. So they get so caught up in just wanting to feel good, just like very autopilot, like 9 to 5 working, come home, do whatever, like make dinner or whatever they're doing, get the dinner done, get the dishes done, sit down with their escapism, right? Maybe it's a TV show, a glass of wine, whatever it is. And life stays very surface level. And there's nothing wrong with that. If that is all that that soul can handle at that time, then they are still, like, I'm still happy that they are having the earth experience and they're still learning. And whenever there is learning present, then the lifetime is so worth it, right? They're still learning a lot just through the experience of being human. So such a worthy cause still. It's just that we, like us starseeds, are like really, really interested in growth, like to a ridiculous degree. And this is a lot of the reason why we're on Earth right now. Yes, we volunteered to be here to help humanity through this evolutionary period. And they're going through right now, the evolution is of the consciousness. So it's an evolution of consciousness. We're here to help with that because we know it's heading to even more evolution, to that, back to the beginning of this conversation, to that golden era precession cycle at the top. Like that's where we're heading, right? So yes, starseeds are here for all of that, like, but we're not just here to give and be these volunteers and not receive anything back, because that wouldn't be balance. And balance is key in the universe. It's not all love and light. It's not all give and shining rainbows. It has to be balanced or it's unhealthy for both sides. So we are receiving. We are not just giving, we are receiving. And what are we receiving? Right? We are receiving because of the ascension energies that are on Earth at this time, due to the precession cycle that we talked about and how we are on the ascension towards the golden era. All of those solar flares, all of that sun code activity, the Schumann Resonance, all of these high vibrations are affecting us and giving us a gift. And the gift is that we can achieve many, many, many lifetimes worth of growth in just this one life. So like I can achieve, if I want to, and I'm willing to go there, like tens, like 10, 20, who knows how many years worth of growth and lessons in just one lifetime, because of the energies present supporting that, and because of the awareness that a starseed has. They don't come here and fall under the spell of the autopilot matrix of the 3D. They may for a time, but they will always wake up because they have those galactic codes built in. And they are like, they wake up and right away, what do they want to do? They want to figure out what their purpose is, right? Sound familiar? Like, oh, what's my soul purpose? I need to help. I feel like there's something I'm supposed to be doing, like giving back, serving in some way. I'm a volunteer and I know that, I just don't remember what I'm supposed to be doing. So they focus on that first, but then very soon they will realize that you need to actually do the healing in order to be of service. And the more deeply you go into the healing, the more high quality your service is. And your service is essentially the frequency that you can emit into the collective consciousness of humanity, the planetary grid, all of those juicy areas that are in need of your super high frequency, right? So how do you get those super high frequencies? You do the work. You start with the childhood and then you move into the past life healing, the ancestral healing. And before you know it, you're going to be like floating 8 inches above the floor. You're going to be so high vibrational. It's going to be crazy. All right, just catching up on some comments. Hi, John. Thanks for joining. Hi, Selenite Stories. Thanks for joining. Divine Triad says, I quit alcohol almost 2 years ago and it helped me too. I got sober maybe 2.5 years ago. And it's been so different. Like the clarity, the psychic gifts, like woo, new levels because of the clarity. I cleaned up my energy, right? And you get this clarity in your mind and in your body and in your energy, and your gifts just come through so strongly. And then all of a sudden you're living your dream, like your purpose. You're on your soul purpose path. And it just happens so effortlessly because you did the work. Healing an addiction is incredibly. It's maybe one of the hardest things I've ever done. And it was like so friggin' worth it. Oh my God. No matter how hard that was, I felt like I almost died going through it multiple times. And yet it's like a whole new person on the other side of that. Like this woman, like that I could never have become without going through that experience. And I truly would not recognize my life if I were looking at it like 2 years ago. Would not recognize my life at all. It's so different now. And like, I'm so grateful that, that I was able to get through that experience. Cause like I said, it definitely wasn't easy. And then you know what it led to? Maybe like a year ago, I gave up caffeine too, because I was realizing that it was also affecting me. And I loved coffee. Like, oh my God, no, like I was so basic. I loved it. I had to have my coffee every morning, 2 coffees. And I realized that it was actually creating a lot of anxiety energy right here, top, like bottom of the throat chakra, high heart area. It was like this constant like fluttering feeling. And it was actually making me anxious. And I thought it was helping me, which is what a lot of substances are like, right? We think they're helping us to calm down or relax or heal, or in the case of coffee, like helping me to like, you know, get on with my day and be really productive and get things done. But it wasn't. It was taking me out of the present moment, causing racing thoughts and like this anxiety feeling. And so I cut that out and switched over to decaf everything. And it's a totally different amount of presence. So if you suffer with anxiety, consider that. Just consider it. I know it's hard. All of it is hard if you're trying to give up stuff, but just consider it. Samba Joe had to jump off. Oh, I'm so glad that you joined us. If you're still on here, thank you. Divine Triad says, I still struggle with binge eating sometimes. Yeah, and you know what? That's difficult because I feel like sometimes that can be an ascension symptom, because like I am a plant-based diet, like I have a plant-based diet, but and it's usually like really full of fruit, vegetables, salads, like healthy, wonderful things. And lately, all I want is carbs and sugar. Like, so like any kind of carb, any kind of carb, like bread, crackers and all that. And then on the sugar, usually chocolate or candy or something. And it's like, I can't stop. It feels like sometimes a binge, but then you'll go through like waves of it. And with ascension symptoms, they come in waves and then they go and then they come back up again. And like for that reason, it would be that the density was needed. So your body was craving density. So like carbs and sugar are very dense. So it's craving that density to bring you back into your body. So like there's healing that needs to be done. Come back down, get in here, sit with it. Let's get through it. And then you'll have some like aha moments and breakthrough moments, right? But I'm trying to like get back into the salad healthy thing. But like once you've been off of it, it's not easy to get right back in. Yola08 Rose says, I impulsively eat, shop, and escape in work. Yeah, see, so that is, that's escapism, right? And is there really any difference between escapism and addiction? What is your subconscious trying to escape from? What's in there? Because it's something. There's something in there that needs your attention, and your ego or your subconscious doesn't want to do that because it's uncomfortable. And they like to keep us safe in the box small box of comfort zone and never leave that. And if you never leave that, then you never experience growth and adventures, right? So really just think about that. Divine Triad said, yes, that's exactly my path at the moment. The eating path? Yeah, probably what you meant, and it's been horrible. Hi, Selenite Stories. Danica Doucette says, how do you up-level your psychic gifts? So I did that by cleaning up my energy. So I got sober and I cut out caffeine, which I found really helped. And then obviously the obvious solutions, right? Like that everybody would say would be like, you know, meditation, journaling, stretching your body because trapped energy needs to be released, and then going and getting as much fresh air as possible. All of that, yes. But what I have found is I created like a galactic healing, which is a combination of energy work and activations. And we work our way from the bottom to the top. So the bottom chakra being your Earth Star chakra, grounding that into the crystal core of the planet, working our way up to your Soul Star chakra, which is like a golden pyramid above your crown. And that holds your Akashic records, past lives, like higher self, all of that. So we kind of like, we get ourselves held in balance between the two. So creating a huge balance. This is very important for being grounded, yet still being connected to the divine. So you create a balance between your divinity, like this, like a perfectly aligned pathway, unbroken chain of energy between your divinity and your humanity. And then once we achieve those connections and those anchors on either end, then I go in and to your psychic centers. So if it's clairvoyance, it's third eye. If it's clairaudience, it's an ear chakra, and there's one on either side of your head. They're above your ears and they're burgundy in color. That's for clairaudience. And then there are more clairs, but those are the ones that I work with predominantly, the clairvoyance and the clairaudience. We wake up those chakras, so turn them on, turn the light switch on, activate them, and then we connect them into the pineal gland. So we're in human bodies. We need to consider that when we're trying to use psychic gifts. It's all going to be filtered through your human brain, which is a very beautiful, powerful computer, but it needs to be, all the attachments and connections need to be hooked up right. So we have been gifted as the human race with something called a pineal gland. It's deep in the center of your brain, kind of like halfway down. And it is your center to anchor your psychic gifts to. So you need to anchor the energies of the psychic gift chakras into the pineal gland. So hopefully that didn't sound super confusing, but it's actually beautiful and it's not that confusing, and it's a service that I offer and I do it for myself, and it's been so powerful, so powerful. Erin Mo joined, hello. And also, Danica Doucette, you can ask your team for upgrades, right? Like when you're talking with your guides, your councils, your angels, tell them that's what you want and then make time for it. Don't just say, this is what I really want, and then go on with your day. Make space, so get into a healing state, which would be like soft music playing, dim the lights, as if you're taking a meditation. Get into that like relaxed trance-like state, and then call them in and say, okay, I'm ready. Like I would say Archangel Raphael would be somebody that could definitely help with that. But I would also definitely call in your own team, because they're going to know specifically where your proclivities are, because we all lean into one psychic gift more than the other. So, you know, not everybody is clairaudient, everybody is clairaudient, but that might not be their strength, right? We all have psychic gifts. Everybody has them, but we tend to lean into one or two more than the others. So what is the one or two that you lean into? And then, you know, start there kind of thing. So definitely make that time and space to work with your team to do those upgrades. And then I can also definitely help you with that, because it's something that I do. Divine Triad says, you work in a vegan restaurant? That's so cool. That's amazing. I'm not vegan, but I am plant-based, but I still have things like honey in that. Selenite Story says, much resonance. Beautiful, I'm so glad. We've bounced all around. Isn't this hilarious? These lives are just all over the place, but I love that. It's like rapid fire. So different than YouTube for me. So that's why I really enjoy the challenge. Stephen Rock says, I'm craving rice. Yeah, carb. I'm listening to you while drinking maple sap. No way. That's so funny. Oh, I'll join you. I'll go get some chocolate because I have so much of it right now. It's sick. Sap season in Northeast Ohio. Oh, that's beautiful. Well, at least it's natural, right? Like that's not loaded with chemicals like the candy I've been munching on. At least that's natural, like sap and honey and all of that. Oh, good. Danica Do said, I'm so glad that that was helpful for you. That is so beautiful. Hello, Amy. Thanks for joining. So these lives go so fast, don't they? It's already been over an hour again. Was there anything further that you guys wanted to discuss? I kind of outlined a few of my services, so if anything resonated, please, don't be shy. Feel free to hit me up. You can just either message me or you can go to the link in my bio and everything is described. I actually updated my website last night, the services part of it anyway, so that you can see like its longer description so that you get a better idea of exactly what's going to happen. And there is the new service. So the one that I told you about on today's call called the Breakthrough Reading. Brand new service. There's a deal listed there on the website as well where you can save $50 when you combine it with the Galactic Guidance, but I'll let you go and check that out yourself. So I think I'm going to move on with my day because I do want to get a video filmed for YouTube. The one that I was telling you about, quantum manifestation. So that is going to be coming out shortly. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube. New videos every single Sunday, Monday, Wednesday about all the topics that we've talked about today. Soul retrieval, walk-in souls, twin flames, past lives, galactic origins, like starseed missions, just so much good info on there. And like sometimes controversial stuff too, right? So for instance, the video, the Reptilian Council of Light, that was, to a lot of people, that was pretty controversial to kind of see that race from a new perspective. So check all of that out. Go and subscribe. Check out my link and my services. Thank you so much for joining me. Remember, I am here every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Feel free to send me questions for these lives, if you want to send them in advance. Or also feel free to join. Nobody has yet, but I always say, hey, request to join. And I really believe that one day somebody's going to be brave enough to do that and they're going to come on camera with me. So thank you all so much. And before you go, please remember, listen to your heart and the quiet voice within, because you are so much more than the body you are in. Have a beautiful day. Bye, everyone. Talk to you soon.